Hello, hockey fans. I just want to talk about the shellacking the Hurricanes gave to the Bruins last night. Um, the final in their season scores like 3-0 for the Canes, and the scores like 16-1 or something. So Carolina definitively showed throughout the season they were definitely the better team 5-on-5. Boston going into this game without Bergeron, still injured head injury, and Marchand is obviously suspended. Inexcusable. Don't really have to talk about it much. More to say about Rask's retirement, but both those things might be videos in themselves. Carolina were without Kotkaniemi, but they got Teravainen back, and it definitely helped electrify their lineup. Let's just jump right into the game because I want to talk mostly about this first period, a couple of highlights, and then we can get into the second, and then the third. We can just talk about the couple highlights that were there. To start the game off, I think Boston were leading with like an energy line, and Anton Bleed had an edge early. Fourth line scrums are something that they're pretty classic for so far this year since the Bleed Nosek Lazar line has been put together, and it's been effective at just generating some energy early. Um, Boston would go to a power play early as Nikas would cross check McAvoy after McAvoy hits him, lays the body two or three times in a single shift. Trying to bring that energy early into the game, establish a physical presence. And they talked in the interviews after the game about McAvoy, especially trying to be one of those players that he himself said he wanted to establish, a presence and make sure that Carolina knew it was going to be that type of game. Um, Trocheck, shorthanded, would actually have the chances on the Hurricanes. They did a great job of killing a lot of penalties in this game. Not even a lot, but the penalties they had, they did kill very well. The team itself does take a couple penalties, but if you kill them as well as they do, it doesn't really matter. So Trocheck shorthanded, 2-on-2, keeps it and tests Olmark with the glove. Great save. No hunger or want for the puck early from the Bruins, though. Jake DeBrus takes a shot to the pads, and that would become very like a recurring theme as the Hurricanes goalie Anderson was very, very strong. Obviously gets a shutout tonight, but early in this game he was tested a couple times up close, a couple distance shots, and his pads were very, very strong. I think a couple times Bruins need to be a little more clinical when we're around the net and put the puck in a little bit of a more dangerous position when we shoot it. So Jake DeBrusk, after his shot to the pads, Smith would follow with two more point blank, slams at the puck that were also denied by the same pad. Pastrnak with a pass to him too. Pastrnak is trying to be a big offensive engine for this team without Bergeron or Marchand, and Hall being sometimes streaky in his shifts. That means that sometimes when he's trying to be the engine, maybe like Krejci's trying to be on that second line, he resorts to a pass first mentality. I said this in the last highlight, and then he made a couple of really nice passes, like right after I commented about it. So it made me quiet about it. But this game too, especially, there was a breakaway. There's not a break, but a break, like a 3-on-1 with that shift, and he tried to force it back in the middle instead of taking a clean look. Um, Carolina would go on the power play after Boston would, but it was another one of those kills where the first minute Boston weren't able to establish any pressure on their power plays. So Carolina go on an actual power play as there was a cross checking between the hash marks and the offensive ozone. So a Frederick penalty when he cross checks someone, it has to be for a good reason and to draw a fight or something like that, not in the offensive zone, 150 feet from your net. Svechnikov would make a beautiful cross ice pass to Teravainen, who takes a shot with purpose on the high blocker, and the puck just falls right in front to Teravainen, or sorry, to Trocheck, who just roofs it. I want to show you a picture of this goal, a couple pictures, because it was a beautiful example of, from a defenseman, how you need to count the bodies and be accountable for everyone on the ice. As a penalty killer, generally in your structure, you know you're down a man and you have to be okay with someone being not wide open, but contained to a space in the ice. So Carolina have two players next to each other on the offensive blue line. They're being covered by the single Bruins defenseman right here. This is totally okay. And this means that for this defenseman and this forward, they have like man-to-man coverage because what we don't see in this picture, if we count the bodies, there are 4 and 3. There's 1-to-1 coverage over here. We can see maybe the Carolina player's head right there. As this play progresses, though, we can see the defenseman stepping forward. He's stepping up to maybe mark this player, or maybe to walk up to here. I'm not sure why a defenseman is going past the hash marks, though. And let's see how it plays out. So we're blocking a seam pass that this winger is as the puck comes across the other ice, and this defenseman has to mark up, and this guy just gets a free walk in front of the net. Nothing else to say or do about that. We just have to be more accountable when we're on the penalty kill. Right after this, though, it's another example where Boston kind of set the tone for the game by how they break out of the neutral zone and enter into the offensive zone. When they're playing really well, this looks pretty seamless. When they're missing basic passes to each other in the neutral zone, though, it's a sign of bad things to come. And I noted that right after Carolina go up 1-0. Then we'd have that play right after where Pastrnak would pass instead of taking a shot. Taylor Hall would make a tough pass like through the seam to Pastrnak on the streaking open side. And instead of Pastrnak trying to make a play on the goalie, he looks to force it back into the middle on Craig Smith, where if it gets to him and he gets good connection on it, it's probably a guaranteed goal. But it's not how it works out, obviously, because you're forcing it back into the middle. D'Angelo and McAvoy would scuffle after a clean hit on Aho. It was an open ice hit, though, so there's always the debate of should the player have to answer for a hit that they make, especially on a superstar, in open ice or near the boards or whatever. Totally up for debate, but it was a textbook clean hit, and in my opinion, textbook clean hits shouldn't end up with you in the penalty box. The play opens up with 4-on-4 hockey, as you'd expect, and there would be more than one occasion where we would get some 4-on-4 action. I'm pretty sure like 2 minutes of this first period were 4-on-4, and that's really interesting when you're getting like 10% of the play to be a preview of overtime if it has to come. Obviously, it didn't have to come in this game, but it's good practice. And it keeps the goalies on their toes usually because the play can open up like it did. So as the play opened up, Studnicka, first time I'll mention him, but he might come up more than once. He came into the lineup obviously with a lot of players missing from the AHL. He's passed a in like the first time in 8 weeks or something, 2 months. But the Studnicka, Foligno, and Frederick line were buzzing early, but they can't bury a rebound. Then Shea's point shot would almost be deflected and like roll over Ullmark, basically rainbow over him. It was crazy. Carolina recover that puck that arcs over and keep pressure. I thought that was something they do really, really well on whenever they're in the offensive zone. They're always sending players deep and forechecking really hard. Clifton would start with that pressure that's coming in, Clifton and other players resort to basic instincts. I talked about this in the last review, actually, with Lazar on the penalty kill, being a great player later on, too, because his instincts are really good and his fundamentals are strong. Clifton's is like to just run at people and lay the body and be an impact in that regard. So he runs at 2 players and gets called for interference on the second one because he just dumps him like behind the net after he passes the puck. So he stepped in his step on and then into Martin Hook. And so he would go off for interference. Trocheck would do a fantastic, unintentional, on-purpose spinorama pass. This is where the puck is. Trocheck's right here. And there are 3 Bruins, basically 4, but 3 for real, containing this puck. There's no way that Trocheck should be able to spin and chop it. This defenseman loses his mark as he chops it into the middle, but then we just have, I'm pretty sure it's Sebastian Aho. Yeah, Aho just, is right here wide open, sitting for one. No sex mark at the end of the day, but we got to make sure we contain that puck a little bit better behind our red line. This puck doesn't actually go in the net, though. It just squirts through Olmark and sits on the goal line and manages to get cleared away. So get away with one there, but I think it was a fantastically cool spinorama move. And, great example of how the game was going for both sides. The play would get evened up to 4-4 as Teravainen would hook Haula. And it was just an unforced error. It was a little soft. It was a little bit of a soft call, maybe because the play was going so hard in Carolina's favor. But Haula did fall on the play, and maybe that had something to do with it. But it was one of those plays where Teravainen held onto the puck too long in the offensive zone near the blue line, like Coyle did literally in the last game and took an interference penalty for it. Um, but held on to it for too long, and then as Hulla tries to chip it past and skate past, he hooks him. But Teravainen didn't have to hook him at all because he had a defenseman behind him. So that was an unforced error on both regards. One, because he gave the puck away, high up in the slot in near the blue line in the offensive zone, and two, because you had a person behind you to bail you out. Let's see. It was Slavin behind him, but that doesn't really matter. Oh, there was just a funky bounce off the garden glass in the Boston arena, and if Omar had gone behind the net to play the puck, I think it would have been a really, really free goal for Fast. But Omar's in the net, so he just has to come out and all of a sudden make a big stop. Let's see. We're still in the first period here. This was a very action-packed first period, a pretty competitive one, relatively scrappy, but Carolina were definitely the better team. Carolina were doing a really good job of, why were they the better team? Because they were doing a great job of making entries difficult for the Bruins. Usually having the best way to stop the Boston Bruins is stopping them from building a lot of momentum, getting their plays started in the neutral zone. So if you can attack them and forecheck them high and early, their defensemen can sometimes struggle to find the breakout pass or maybe inclined to just ice the puck instead. That same thing goes for some forwards as well. And along with that, they're doing a great job of holding their blue line. And so if Boston are breaking in with speed and they're trying to make a side pass on the blue line, it's just going to get picked off or pounced on really aggressively by Carolina. They did a great job. Studnicka and Frederick built entry through the neutral zone behind their own red line, though, and they did an entry that made it look easy. So that was a great job. And then Bleed would keep himself engaged on this line. So it's now the line of Studnicka, Frederick, and Bleed, where before it was Studnicka, Frederick, and Foligno. Um, Shaking it up. Broadcasted a little feature on Studnicka making 3 passes that were nice throughout the period so far, and great to see for a young player from the Boston perspective, which I'm obviously biased towards. Carolina would go on the power play as Pasta would high stick. I can't remember who he high sticked, but it was unenforced. Like it was one of those high sticks that shouldn't have happened. Off the face-off, the person beat them before the referee said it, and then they went again, and then Pasta high sticked him. It was nonsense. Got beat twice too. Not ideal. Anyways, just showed kind of the hunger. Trocheck could be robbed in close by Olmark's left pad, so a bit of revenge for Anderson robbing us with his pads. The wraparound somehow doesn't go, though. I think Studnicka robbed it off the goal line. So that's basically 2 pucks that have been robbed off the goal line so far in this period. So it could, potentially be 3-0 at this point. Still 1, though. Olmark has to go from flat on his belly with players on top of him to then jump up and save D'Angelo's point shot. That was a really, really nice athletic move. Good tenacity and fight for Olmark. In a 1-0 hockey game, he fought really hard to keep us in this 1-0 hockey game. Respect to that. There's a flurry around Olmark as the penalty in period expires, and then Forbert and Niederreiter just, wipe the sweat off each other's faces, gave each other a little wash. And then the second period starts. Carolina are out shooting the Bruins 11-8, or 18-11, obviously. And then the second period would start with the Foligno Coyle Hall line. That's a very interesting line, in my opinion, because you've broken up the first line. Probably switched Smith and Hull, obviously. Wouldn't take long for Carolina to find the back of the net, though. 2-0 as Trocheck absolutely undressed Riley and then button hooked at the hash mark. Carlo had a very weak clear attempt right after this. They recovered the puck, and Carlo just flipped it and flubbed it right into the middle of the ice into Slavin. No, who was it? It wasn't Slavin. Svechnikov absolutely ripped it top corner. Just a beautiful shot through a bunch of bodies, perfectly placed. Love to see it. Um, yeah, nice play, nice finish off a big error. Good job, and really nice play by Trocheck. Might have got deflected. Probably it did get deflected. But the play started to open up as Boston realized we're down 2 goals. We need to get back in this game. It's going to be either a 6-0 game or it's going to be a 3-2, 5-6 game. It's going to be one of those. Could be, could keep it nitty gritty. It could really open up and it could go 6-5, or we're just going to get schmacked out. And obviously, one of those things happened. It probably wasn't going to stay nitty gritty. Like Olmark would have had to completely shut the door in order for it to stay nitty gritty. Let me clarify that. But more likely it would have been either 6-5 or 6-0. Um, Aho was streaking in from the wing to make it 3-0. Nikas placed the puck out of the pads, deflected by Teravainen, and whenever Carolina are getting rebounds, they're always shooting the puck with purpose and they're forcing good rebounds. It's rebounds to the opposite side of the open wing. It's rebounds that drop right in front because they're shot up high into the blocker or into the shoulders. Yeah, really good job by Carolina at placing their shots and getting juicy rebounds. And then obviously they crash the net really well to capitalize on them. So Nikas just placed the puck off a Teravainen tip, and Aho just gets a free smack in the open net off that rebound. Perfect. Bruins at least are able to bring energy after this goal, so it's now 3-0 relatively early into the second period, and it's at the point where the game is starting to get away from you. You just want something to write home about, right? Getting a fourth line goal, getting some of the younger players some points, that would be really, really positive. And Bleed would try and bring some of that. But Carolina just kept playing a 200-foot game, out shooting the Bruins 23-16 with 8.5 minutes left. Um, there's just one shot. There's one picture I really want to show because I mentioned right from the start that Bleed was playing with an edge in this game, and this is an example of how you play with a controlled edge. This is Bleed right here. This is who do I have? I don't have it written. And it's obviously too blurry for me to make it out. But there's a play along the wall here, and it's the Carolina player with his face to the boards and back to Bleed. And Bleed is coming in with his shoulder forward, ready to line him up for a hit. If you can see those pixels. And instead of doing that, he comes up and gives him a wraparound and just gives him a takedown. He does bring him to the ground like WWE after, but in my opinion, he's totally allowed to do that because he did the responsible thing of keeping it on the right side of the line and going for a wrap move. It's a wrap. It's totally cool in my opinion, as long as you don't hold the stick or keep him down. Um, and it's at the point of the game too when you're starting to get a bit frustrated. So it's not even that far shots wise, but chances and play wise. Yeah. Niederreiter score almost buries another rebound goal off a Shea shot. So Carolina kept pressing. They make it 4-0 as Stahl's denied twice, and then Fast makes a beautiful drop pass to Pesci, who beats the sprawling Olmark. So Carolina did a great job again of keeping their plays alive, chasing the puck down, getting rebounds, keeping the play alive. Unfortunately, Grizz would go out of this game and not return down the tunnel as he makes contact with Svechnikov. And to be honest, it was really hard to see what happened. If you want to, go check the replay or the highlights maybe, because it just looked like he maybe jammed his stick into the boards, and then his arm went up, and then maybe as it came down, he maybe grabbed up around his collarbone, area, shoulder maybe. Not ideal. Not ideal. It didn't look super clear though on the replay what had actually happened. Um, Boston make a pretty bad turnover, but force Olmark to bail them out. Riley sees Carolina make a deep chase, and then he decides to go on a charge into the offensive zone. He does this sometimes, and I mentioned it in the last review. I've brought that up a couple times. Check it out. Good review, I guess. Or I'm just, an old man repeating the same things over and over again. But Riley saw some opportunities to get involved in this game, maybe take a shot on goal. It's good. You need that more of that from him. So that's good. That he's, feeling some more of that confidence, get involved, try and take the puck himself, try and look for an opportunity to make a play. That's what we want. Hmm. That'll do it for the second period, really. Just more great chances by Carolina. Not keeping their foot on the gas. Uh, there was no difference between the first and second period for them. A little bit cleaner, obviously, no penalties taken, and they were able to just dominate 5-on-5 play. I think that was the clear difference in if these teams ever meet in the playoffs, Boston have no chance in 5-on-5 play. They've shown us this right now. The two versions of this team have no chance playing 5-on-5 against each other. Only thing that could keep this game close would be periods that are full of power plays that Boston can capitalize on when they have Marchand and Bergeron. The third period would be started by Frederick, Studnicka, and Foligno. So that line got put back together. Bleed got moved off of it, and then Foligno would take the puck to the net and kind of ram into Anderson. I understand the thought process behind the play. I'm just double checking. I don't think there was a penalty called on the play. And then Boston challenged it for a review on a goal. But you can't just ram the goalie like he did. That's just not it, you know. Nothing no more needs to be said about that. But Boston do have to challenge it, I think. The puck did go in the back of the net, and maybe there's a chance the league takes pity on you or the refs do. We would get another gift, though, as Carolina would oh sorry, Boston would not get a gift though. They would shoot themselves in the foot as they would take a delay of game penalty as Carolina would go on the power play. And then Carolina's power play, I just want to highlight it here again maybe. They had great flow as in their play around the horn. I've mentioned this in the last review of them, I think, in the very first video I posted. Their play around the circle was fantastic because they have so much pressure down low, they get so much space up high. Um, there's absolutely no pressure on them to force in this situation as well because the score is 4-0. And they just surgically look for spots. Aho, Svechnikov, Trocheck twice denied close. Um, this team is very precise when they need to be and controlled, right? Like you need to see that control when you're up 4-0, when you're down 1-0, chasing a lead. We can't let the game get away from us. Need to keep seeing that from them, and if they keep bringing it, there's nothing that says they can't compete for the cup. Seriously. Let's see. They'd make it 5-0 on Aho's second goal as Svechnikov would go cross crease to Teravainen, who'd spin around and cross crease it back to Aho, who just gets a free goal on the back door. Carolina posted this on their Twitter. I could pull it up. It's a beautiful highlight.
That
We're
wanted to
already
watch
running
Lost
pretty
Ark.
long on this,
I think
but
what really
it's on their
caught me
Twitter,
off
promise.
guard and caught me by surprise
Anderson
is
almost
the
threw away
fact
the
that like
shutout, trying to make an
there were
outlet
so many
pass
people
behind
from like Korea
from outside the
and
hash
so many
marks from
people
behind his own net. My heart went in my throat for him when he did that. We just couldn't get good wood on it, or obviously composite, and yeah, DeBrusque, Frederick, and Foligno would take a shift together. Shots are now 35-24 for Carolina, and the game's starting to get away from them with about 16 and a half in. You can say this game is safely, put away. There's no chance. It's no longer really a hockey game. I think the coach of the Bruins has mentioned this more than once, maybe even about the last Carolina game or maybe about the Dallas game when they got blown out. There comes a point in the game when it no longer really becomes a hockey game and it's more about like a team building exercise where you have to go through the filth together to come out stronger. Use this as motivation. D'Angelo makes a beautiful seam pass to Trocheck, who forces Olmark to make a save, and the Niederreiter takes a one-time bomb. Beautiful. Like forces Ullmark and McAvoy make a save. It was one of those dual efforts. Some of Carolina's entries look so easy, it's like they're up a man sometimes. They're able to move the puck very swiftly through the neutral zone, build a lot of presence on the blue line, and then build an entry, either using one of those outlet passes to a blue line member or straightforward north-south game. Very strong. More than one unforced icing from Carolina. That's the only thing that I have to criticize them, basically, in their entire game right here. I think it was just maybe laziness late in the game. But better teams are going to punish you with their forecheck, and maybe that's a sign of Boston's forecheck still working hard because I don't think that the quit ever came in. They were just outmatched, and then they let their foot off the gas, but they still wanted it. They were still trying to finish checks, and a lot of the AHL players know that they're playing for minutes. So Carolina's defense just work on getting out of that puck out, work on your breakouts, work on absorbing the play, work on helping each other out, communication. Boston would go on the power play as Jake DeBrusk, Coyle, Hall would be power play one, with Pastor and McAvoy on the points, looking for points, right? Jake DeBrusk and Coyle and Hall could all use a point right now. Pasta's hot. McAvoy's relatively hot. Studnicka would make a nice pass to Holla, who's robbed by Anderson's right pad. And then Aho and McAvoy would slash each other. So Nika looking for the one-timer and slot shot, both miss, but it's really good intention from him, right? He's showing the right mindset. He's showing the right presence on the ice, and he's getting involved in the play. That's really, really good, and it's not in a negative way all the time. With 4.5 minutes left, Carolina would put this one to bed, make it 6-0. Shea from the point through a screen, probably, maybe, possibly deflected. And yeah, 16-1 final for Carolina. They're a great team. Um, they play really good fundamental hockey, really like hard work in blue collar minutes, and the depth in their lineup is going to make them very dangerous for any team to play against. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Like, comment, subscribe. Have a great one. Check you in the next one.